evolving, as an adult with a disability. So it's never ending, but I can tell you the version on how I got to where I am today, what I'm currently doing, where I want to go with it. So yeah, I would be interested in doing something.
Sure. So my information is in the chat. So if you'll just note it down, I'll listen out for you, to hear from you and to hear from Miss Maria, and we can be a team in various ventures to help get the words out in different ways and to help our ultimate goal, which is helping people with disability. You know, I'm more on the education and business perspective, but still that sounds like the three of us have that same goal in common.
That would be great. I'll definitely contact you.
Sure. Shoot me a text later on and we can arrange a time. And same with you, Miss Maria, if you'll shoot me a text with your, let's see if I double check that, put my phone number. No, it looks like I didn't. So I'm going to put that in there, put my name again so y'all know it's my phone number.
Okay.
And then we can text to arrange a time that fits for both of us. I mean, that both towards you, Ryan, and you, Miss Maria. And I think Miss Emily that's here is the one of the hosts and leaders with Transfer.
Okay.
If I'm correct, she works for Mr. Kurt.
Emily.
Emily, you're on quiet or mute, whatever.
Hi, everybody.
Hey there.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome. Nice to see a face.
Yes. Yes, I am with Mr. Captain Kurt.
That's funny, Captain.
But yeah.
Emily, what's this podcast today about? Is it about what we do regarding how we help people with special needs and disabilities? Is it about how we can be compassionate to other people, what we do, and how we can help?
Yeah, it's kind of more about like how compassion is cultivated in like faith communities, service life, lifelong learning, politics, work and pleasure, bringing like more compassion to political practice, just kind of compassion in general. Anything about compassion?
Ryan and Jennifer, you guys are based in America, and I'm based in the UK. I've seen so many differences, like in education systems compared to the UK and the US. What do you think, you two, because you've worked in that field, and I believe that you're at early learning, how can we all be more compassionate, and how can we make it easier for people that have like a disability on the spectrum? Because I'm on the spectrum, I've got autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia. So, and you've said that you're on the spectrum, and everybody on the spectrum is different, and we deal with things differently.
Yes, we do. I think you're asking me. Yes, we do tutor it. We have special needs tutors like myself. I've been doing it for years. I've been in the field for 20 years. And we basically design it to a custom lesson plan that's fit to the style of learning, because each special needs has a unique style of learning that's different from the general population. So it's a matter in education of fitting it to their special need, their special way of learning that's because of whatever is their hurdle. And I totally understand you, Miss Maria, because actually I'm on the spectrum too, just that I'm clearly high functioning. So I understand people from that perspective, since I have post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety. I have brain injury. I have neurological conditions like epilepsy, the autism spectrum. I have a long list that's 3 pages long of disabilities, but I've never let it stop me. I've always tried to find a way accommodating for myself. Well, I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, so I've tried to find it as ways to also favor those who have other special needs between my companies focused on tutoring them, and which is what Sylvan, Huntington, all these other big chains do not do. They may have elementary, they may have certified teachers, all these other things may be doing well, but they're not remembering those of us that are, if we may call, unique instead of special, right?
Absolutely.
And
Sorry for interrupting you, Jennifer. I've got also high function autism, PTSD. Understand where you come from. I love what you're doing. It sounds such an amazing thing. And where do you surface your company? Is it across the UK? Is it global, or is it just simply America that you deal with?
we tutor online for people that are anywhere, but most people who know Ace My Course tutoring, writing, consulting are in Texas somewhere, because before the pandemic, we were serving greater Houston area, greater Dallas-Fort Worth area, and greater Austin, Texas areas. While we do have students that are online, so they're in other parts of the US, or they may be on other sides of the globe, but that's not where we are mostly known.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's my tutoring company. And on the other hand, we talk about my bookstore, and we do have clients, a lot of them, that buy our books at wholesale prices that are in China or other countries that are totally not the United States. And with it, you may even like this. I have one book that I wrote called Dealing with Autism. It's a series, but if you go to my website, Books and More by JenniferAWhitaker.com, there's a direct link on there. You'll see a picture of the cover, Dealing with Autism, and there's a direct link on there. If you click the picture to buy it on Amazon, you can read it for free on Kindle. You can get the Kindle edition that you pay for and download if you don't have a Prime membership, or you can even get the paper copy to get mailed. But that is where is another avenue of my teaching. That particular book is about teaching those with autism. The first part is towards the family members and the support system.
Mm-hmm.
Second part is towards those like you and me that actually have the autism.
Mm-hmm.
And it teaches both sides of the team what is the real struggle of those of us with autism, which ultimately is communication, but I go into a lot more detail, and how to understand the other side, how to interact with the other side, so we don't have our autistic episodes, and we can fit more in with society as far as functioning and not having the episodes. Our family can help us by teaching us communication and these various perspectives.
Absolutely. I'm lucky with the BBC here in the UK. We've got Spring Skills, and they're going to be mentoring me. My mentor has 97 credits, and I'm going to be creating
in times.
Stories. I think my internet's not that great. Stories for people with autism or disabilities, so we can put it out there and educate people that we are not different. We're all the same. Nothing doesn't matter about, because like you said, Jennifer, I love what you said.
Oh, I got cut off. I lost the internet at a point when I was saying that.
All right, sorry.
I got cut off when I was saying that the part 2 helps people like you and me who are the reader understand what the world around us means when things are not in a literal form. You know, a lot of people do figurative speech. You know, like you got a good head on your shoulders or other things that are not literal. And part 2 helps those like you and myself learn how to understand the figurative speak or other lingo that is not in the literal form. That's what our brains want to be, all we understand. So it's more educational. And I'll type the title in the chat, but you can go to my website I put on there, Books and More by JenniferAWhitaker.com. And that might be of use, the book called Dealing with Autism. And I've got other books I've written, like Emotional Roller Coaster, Young Adulthood. That's a collection of poetry meant for teenagers or others that want to just have a roller coaster ride of emotions, drama, but they're being good and bad drama, positive and negative stuff, happy and sad. And that I wrote when I was from age 16 to age 22. And it was the first book I wrote, which is when I was recognized by the National Society of High School Scholars.
We can't hear you.
Okay.
We can't
Yeah,
hear
something
you.
happened. Something happened with your
Can't
sound.
hear the sound.
You hear me again?
Yeah, we can hear you
Yeah,
now.
now we can.
There
Yeah,
you
for a
go.
second there.
Yes.
Yeah, for a second
Yeah,
there.
it just faded out. Yeah, now you're back.
Yeah, it might just be bad connection, but I was saying, so I wrote Emotional Roller Coaster, Young Adulthood. It's a collection of poetry, ups and downs, drama, happy, sad, that takes you on a roller coaster emotional ride from age 16 to age 22. And when I was writing that, it was at age 18. I was officially for the first time recognized as being in the top of the nation. I was recognized as by National Society of High School Scholars as being a scholarly writer with scholarly level skills that most don't have till a doctorate degree that I had at age 18. And that's when we launched my career as a author. Before I was officially by trade an author, I was still in college when I was writing that. When I published at age 22, I was a sophomore studying accounting in my bachelor's degree and later on to get a master's in accounting. But I was since age 15 when I was first understood to be special needs. And I was also in all honors classes while in special ed at the same time as being academically recognized at age 17 the first time as academically in the top 3% of the nation among American high school students. They started at age 15 sending me every Friday to the elementary to tutor. And that's where my tutoring career picked up. Every Friday I was going since 10th grade, the August of my 10th grade, all the way through 11th and 12th grade. And I was a graduate with a master's degree in accounting before I realized there's such thing as a career in tutoring, and it's not just a hobby. So, but that's where it was born. They wanted me to inspire the elementary kids from being so high up among the top in the country while being special needs. So they're like, teach these special needs kids in 5th grade how you got there and inspire them. And that's also what developed my whole idea of wanting to be an inspiration to other people with being on groups like this or motivational speaking or other ways that I can share my success, but not just the fact that I am, but that how did I get there and how can this get you there?
Absolutely.
That's amazing, Jennifer.
I love that, Jennifer. I love that you are able to inspire other people and other children to be to your level and nothing stops you. That's what I do here in the UK, is to inspire people, to empower children that because you've got a label, which I hate, it doesn't
Right.
define you. Your disability doesn't define you. We're more than a disability. Whether people define us, we don't define ourselves, and that's what makes us unique. And the fact that you're doing that and you're giving back and you're building up other people, other children to be resilient, that's the most important thing, is to allow them to be resilient and give them the tools that we didn't have. We had to learn ourselves. And I would like Ryan to come into the conversation as well. Because I think it's in Emily too, I think it's important to build resilience because people don't know how hard it is to be on the spectrum, how hard it is
Right.
that what we have to deal with on a daily basis. Disability is a long time. It's like having a long-term job. You can't get away from it. You have to have coping skills like yourself, Jenna. I'm high function. I've got PTSD as well. All other factors, and I've got other disabilities. But I love what you say. It doesn't define you. And I'm also a children's author, and I didn't let that stop me to be. And I love the fact you have now wrote a book on autism when you were 22 years old. Congratulations. And you got up to the scholarly at high school. You were on the top. And that's amazing. And I think we have to celebrate those achievements. And I think you're making you're an amazing can't speak today. motivational speaker, and what you do is so amazing, and that's why I chose to become a co-host in HMP Ability. It was to show to people, no matter where you start in life, don't let anyone define you. Don't let anyone stop you in your path. The only person that you have, I think there's so many different definitions of spectrum. There's people that you can speak, or people that can verbalize, people that can't verbalize, but they can still communicate. And that's why I try to educate people and get that across. Is adapt it to how they can communicate themselves in a way that they can feel uplifted and feel engaged. Brian, what do you say about that?
This is all good information. Taking it all in. I think what you guys doing are amazing. Yeah, it's just all have talents, and we have to use it in a certain way to educate the community. The more we do this kind of stuff, the better it'll hopefully spread. And some people might not still understand it, but it's just awareness, education.
Yes.
Yeah, through my experiences, I've seen both sides. Since I work with individuals with disabilities, primarily autism, and I have qualities of autism, even though I have NBLD, which is rare, very rare disability. It's not autism. You can look it up. It's a lot to explain, but not a lot of people have heard of it. So when I try to explain it to people, it's very tough. I just tell them to go to a website and try to read it, because it's too much to explain. I do it by like bits and pieces. In my story, I just give a recap, like a synopsis. I can't give too many details because I don't want to overwhelm the individual when I'm telling them the story on a podcast or writing it in an article. So just want to give them bits and pieces, nips, and then have them look up and do the research for themselves, because I'm not an expert on it. It's one side. Like every story has a side, every disability has a side. The spectrum is wide range. I work with individuals and verbal and non-verbal.
I think with all that detail you're saying, that's why I'd like to help you by helping write a book about all those details, so you don't have to tell them, but you can still put them out there. Because what if your story to inspire people the way that it sounds like my story just inspired Miss Maria, or whatever are our listeners in their conditions? What if yours could do the same thing, but you didn't have to tell it?
Absolutely, I agree with Jennifer. Because your condition is extremely rare, people may not realize that that's a spectrum. Because I don't know if Jennifer will agree with me. It's much easier to identify spectrums right now. There's much more research done on it. There's much more people researching. Because hidden disabilities is very difficult to explain. But if you have the traits, you can spot it on other people, because you are in tune with that. But if you're not trained or don't understand, it's very difficult to spot the traits. And hidden disabilities, there's so much discrimination against hidden disability. A visual disability is it's still discriminated, but it's less so. A hidden disability, you have to find out what accommodations do they require to help them, support them. And each individual can be different, but we need to have that understanding to the workforces out there, that there's assistive technologies out there that can make it so much easier for people who have learning disabilities, people who are deaf, hard of hearing, other areas that could be helped by simply doing a reasonable accommodation. For example, if somebody has autism and let's say they get stressed, give them time to have a break. it's simple things that that they require and they need help for, and there's support out there. But a lot of people saying, "Oh, there's been a rise in autism." No, there hasn't. It's people are now being able to recognise it, and more old adults are being, for example, in the UK, are being found out to be autistic due to the fact there's so much more universities like Stanford University. All the universities are doing extensive research on these spectrums. So, like what Jennifer said, doing that book will aid you to aid other people. But I believe, and I don't know if Jennifer will agree with me, I think there's more people on the spectrum that don't know they're on the spectrum because they don't understand it. And we need to educate other people that there's spectrums out there that are completely different and completely rare. And it's our duty to help educate and acknowledge that there is bring awareness, because you've got, like Jennifer does the education, I do the business. You've got disability awareness that you can do. You've got cultural awareness. You've got neurodivergent awareness training. We've got all this training available for managers and HR to go on training. You've got deaf awareness training. You've got blind sensory awareness training. So the training is out there. It's up to individuals and companies to be able to support their staff.
That's true. A lot of companies have a demand but can't find staffing right now with the pandemic going on, because some of these different political topics have caused some people to not want to return to work. So we're struggling even more with those of us that have organizations, that the organization's about helping people. We can't get the staff to help people. So there's a shortage that indirectly causes a problem of these people are sitting there needing help while we're not able to help them.
Absolutely.
Well, in my company, we have enough people that we're willing to take on more in it related to tutoring, business consulting, writing, or for them to read our books to get educated if they can't afford stuff like that. Like if they're on a tighter budget, that's the way I have designed both companies to try to help these people. And that's why I write books about mine in a way I communicate. This is how I overcame it, and not just simply, this is what the struggle is: PTSD, autism, generalized anxiety, so forth. I think there needs to be more people, but I think those of us here, like us three that are talking, could make a team and each having a different role to achieve the ultimate goal, the awareness, the helping those that have it once they or their family members realize they have it, then to helping them even create it to be what I call a unique talent. Like, for example, there are now agencies, like even one, there's a staffing company called Spectrum that specifically are looking for people with autism to fill jobs, because they're finding that we have gifts in our disabilities.
Absolutely.
And they're finding, like, for example, this one called Spectrum, the staffing company that looks for people with autism to fill the jobs. They said they found out in a research that people that are on the autistic spectrum have a lot stronger key for details and can often do the problem solving, whether it's accounting and finding that there was one thing that was one penny off, or it's programming and they find that somebody put the division sign instead of the multiplication sign, or other small detail that was off that did a big problem or caused a big issue. But that those of us that are on the spectrum are actually more talented at finding those problems. We identify what is the problem, then we're able to key in on the details to find where it is within the formula or the spreadsheet or the educational program or whatever else. And there are now other research is going on finding out that other disabilities are actually not disabilities, but additional abilities. Additional abilities. We have additional talents because of these ways that we're different. We're better at certain things. And it's all a matter of putting us into our role of society so that our new ability is for the good of society. So instead of us being on disability, we can work a kind of job that needs somebody very keen to detail, or somebody else in another role that may be needed for seeing the big picture, because if we're too keen on details and nobody looks at the big picture, the company will crash. So you need both kind of people, which means we need people with all kinds of various special abilities, if I may call them. This is where we're better at certain things, and to put those to work for society and not to be on disability, but to be in that certain role. But of course, we got to start getting training in the field. We need college degrees or certifications, but it's an 8-week, 6-week course or whatever, that's some kind of credential in the field. But it all starts with some kind of educator or advocate or mentor helping us find what is that potential job, and then getting us into whatever training to then help us get into the field and put ourselves to some kind of role in improving society through our part.
Absolutely, Jennifer. That's the reason why I am a mentor in the UK. So my talent is as development. So I develop programming concepts for like TV shows, and so my talent is to take sort of, I can see a company and I can have a look to see they could have a competitive advantage in this field, but they've not done it. Or I can see a project and see it like 365 degrees and take it to another level. And a lot of it, because I've got a more creative spectrum, but I do, and a lot of people, we've got, for example, Exceptional Individuals, which is an organisation in the UK, and what that does, it actually goes after myself and other people, because what we're trying to say, those, if you look at Harvard's Best Review, they have put people who are on the spectrum are seen as a competitive advantage. In Germany, if you say to them, you've got a spectrum, or you're on the spectrum, you're more likely to get a job, because they can see that person, if they work for us, we could have the next best idea to create a robot, to create something that the market hasn't beaten, because we think outside the box. We think differently, and that is such a competitive advantage. And so what I want to do for companies is for the employees that inside our company is change the company from inside, change it from inside, bring together, create groups of people with autism, create a neurodivergent platform for innovation. That will make you to be more competitive for other people, and that will give you long-term objectives. And what I've found, let Ryan come in, but what we've seen here in the UK, I don't know about in America, is websites are not accessible enough. We have such a problem, and I'd like Ryan to come in.
We would, yes.
They're not accessible enough. So I want Ryan to come in just now and talk about.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Okay, let's hear you.
Yeah, the problem is there's not enough education with employees. Oops, what happened?
We can still hear you, Ryan.
Yeah,
I kind of lost him.
what's his name? Yeah, we lost him.
So we'll
So hopefully he'll be back.
We'll bring him back on.
What I was going to say is that it's not just a visibility problem, but something along the lines of what you're talking about the educating them and making them aware of when it can be an asset to be on the spectrum, is that needs to happen with people that aren't just with brain conditions like autism, epilepsy, all that, or mental illnesses are in the head, but we need to do the same for those that have physical handicaps, like being in the wheelchair and saying, look, you may not do manufacturing, but you could be an engineer sitting at a computer with all these brains at work.
Absolutely, I agree with all of it. It's what I mean by disability ability is all of it, restructuring, rethinking all of it, and especially websites need to be fully accessible. Here in the UK, we have 75% of our websites are not accessible enough. We have like one retailer in the UK that didn't make their website accessible lost 4 million customers, 4 million customers, and lost a potential 17.1 billion sales. So for me,
Huge loss.
that's a big, for me, why did that website owner not bring people who have like various disabilities, like those who are physically disabled, and those who have different spectrum, to have a look at that website, find out what's not working, bring them in to sort it. But 4 million sales, and that is, so if 75% of the UK websites are not accessible enough, what about America? What about all across the globe? There's so many websites that are not accessible. Hopefully we can get Ryan back on again, because I wanted to hear what he was saying. Hopefully we can, I feel terrible that, like, Jennifer, what do you see that because you do tutoring as well, do you see the websites that you use, do you find them accessible enough for your students?
Well, accessible as far as it's on the first page of search results? No, because we're defined as a small business, and only so many websites can be on the first page of search results. And that's usually those are the biggest millionaires that invested the most into search engine optimization. But when you look at the load of people that can be on my website at a time, yes, because we have a high enough subscription to a big enough hosting and server that we can have a lot of people on our website at the same time.
Right. Okay.
That's also a matter of having the right people within the company to know about what server size you need based on the certain person in the digital marketing being able to tell you what is your average load of people trying to be on your website at a time, which goes back to the whole thing of we need people with abilities, if I may call it, that have key for certain details to all be put to work where their uniqueness is an asset in whatever role they play within society. And just we need to be assets in some way. We don't need to be, oh, well, you're different, so I'm sorry, I can't hire you. We need to have more awareness, I think, because I think part of the issue of people not hiring us is because they don't understand our condition and they don't see the talent in it. They just see the different.
Yeah, that's really
the
sad.
Discrimination issue you're talking about.
Absolutely. I would love to bring Ryan back in now. We've got
yes,
him
let's
back.
bring Ryan back. He was saying something when we lost him.
My computer just shut down.
That's okay,
I pushed the cord. So I'm gonna say. So I was saying that the problem is these companies are not. Let's see how to put it. These companies are not educated on how individuals with disabilities can perform. So we need the education in that, and also it's not disabilities, well, abilities, as you said. People say disabilities. I mean, some people have different terms, but it's abilities because they're able to perform the job a lot of times greater than the average, the person without.
That's exactly why I call it abilities, because we have, like, the autistics have a key for detail, but you need those type people for certain roles, while you need those to see the bigger picture for other roles. So they are abilities, but they're different, even though there's still something positive. That's why we as people with different conditions can be an asset. And it's a matter of finding out which area of society would be an asset, and to be able to get the education to be able to do that job, putting that into work.
Absolutely. Ryan, what do you see? What would you see how to change it? What would you like to see?
Well, there needs to be educational programs out there for these companies. There needs to be more people with disabilities going out there like us and actually presenting on, this information. Also advocating for the individuals with disabilities getting hired so the companies have to do more trainings, and they have to know, job employment specialists, which I want to be one day. I actually want to do that in addition to my other things.
I think
but
it'd be amazing.
yeah, but I don't have the experience right now. I'm trying to gain experience with that. Because I'm always searching for companies. I'm always researching companies. Just have to learn like the logistical state regulations and resume writing and all that
Yeah,
nitty
definitely.
gritty work. But one of my passions is actually researching companies. Like I love learning about how they got started, who founded them, what they do. Any kind of company, like a franchise company, and specifically like a foundation. I love just anything about like disabilities, but even not disabilities, like who started it, where's it going, what's its goal, if they say all that and then like linking into the individual. Sometimes they get back, sometimes they don't, but that's just like a passion of mine. Like I always am searching for, jobs for people, even though that's not my job, but hopefully
Well,
in the future.
How
it will be
many
my
times have you checked into, instead of them finding a job, helping them create jobs, such as being an entrepreneur and opening a company where they could accommodate for themselves in ways that other employers cannot?
But I think
Absolutely.
it's perfect. There need. Oh, sorry. Who was speaking? I don't want to.
I was asking you when you were speaking, I said, have you considered, instead of just helping them get jobs, helping them create jobs, such as opening a business where they could accommodate for themselves while still being able to not just help themselves by having a job, but to help create jobs for other people and design the company in a way that accommodates their special needs more than what may not be reasonable accommodations when they have a job for another employer?
I have not considered that. I
I
am
think it
more
would
of
be
like a team.
perfect. I think it'd be
I'm
perfect
more
for
of a
that.
team player. I'm not really a good an entrepreneur. I wouldn't call myself an entrepreneur. I'm like a team player. But it was very interesting what you brought up about Jennifer. The Spectrum Staffing Agency. I think there needs to be more of that. I don't know anything about that company, but I would love. That's when I get done with this. I'm actually gonna look it up. But if you know more about that, also more of that there, or if you know of anybody trying to create that.
Well, what I was asking about is, have you thought of not you being an entrepreneur, but I was asking about in your job, inspiring these people to create businesses instead of just finding jobs that you say that you want to help them do? Have you thought of them creating jobs instead of just finding jobs? You see what I mean?
No, I haven't. That's a great point. I'll have to look into that. But I'm also wondering how
entrepreneurs can accommodate design the whole business around our needs. Like one reason I created a tutoring company is not just my story about how I got into it when I was 15, but even the fact that when I first started it 11 years ago, if I woke up before 9 o'clock in the morning, I would have one of my epileptic seizures and or one of my autistic episodes. If I slept until 9 and then started my day, then I would be fine without having seizures, fine without my autistic episodes, and able to work in the afternoon. So tutoring seemed more reasonable than following where my education is, where in accounting jobs, you have to be there at 8. So that means you have to get up at, depending upon what your drive to work, maybe 4, maybe 5 or 6 o'clock. And then I'd be regularly missing work from having my seizures and autistic episodes. So at that point, it was infeasible, which is where, I don't know what state you're in, but I'm in Texas, and we have what's called vocational rehabilitation. That's part of the workforce solutions of the state of Texas. And that particular division works with those with special needs. And they asked me, why don't you make a career of your tutoring? If your clients are so big of a load that you're working 80 hours a week, why don't we help you make it into a business by creating a business plan, then help you get a grant or a business loan to finance the beginning costs? That, in other words, they wouldn't have, by helping me help just me, they helped me create what was before the pandemic 30 to 40 something jobs of people working for me. So yes, I was able to design it that our schedule was didn't start till 10 since I can't get up till 9 and so forth. But I was able to put it in the right industry that is where the big demand is within my time span of being after 4 or whatever. So that's another way that would help our economy by creating jobs because of those that would work for me and not just simply getting me to work instead of being on a check.
Right, that's a great point.
Absolutely.
Now,
I mean,
what
go-
was, I'm just still interested in this Spectrum Staffing Agency. Do you know more about it?
So I know that they're
Like
technically a staffing company, so they specialize in specifically looking for candidates for jobs that are on the spectrum and then placing them into jobs with what's the staffing company's clients, which are the employers wanting people that
okay,
have a key for detail in various roles, like my examples of accounting, key for that penny that was off, key for encoding, like thinking of like making a web app or a phone app, the key for that one division sign that was accidentally marked as a multiplication that made the whole thing not work, and so forth. So they are looking for people that have some kind of training. And if they don't have training, this particular staffing company is helping those with autism who are on the spectrum to get the kind of education they need to prepare for that certain type of job where their uniqueness is actually an asset to some kind of role in society as far as profession or trade, even if it's not professional, such as being a plumber and looking for that one pipe that's not quite turned in and rolled in correctly, twisted in, may not be secured. So it doesn't have
where are they out of?
mhm.
Where are they based out of?
I know the United States. I don't know what city, but they are
I'll
nationwide.
have to research it because I
They
would
are
love
nationwide. They're
to.
called Spectrum Staffing. I don't know if there's 3 words to their name, but it's called Spectrum Staffing, and they specifically hire those with autism on different ends of the spectrum. They've helped some that became grocery baggers because they were on the lower end of the spectrum, so they weren't as intellectually talented or necessarily able to get a college training as far as their mental, more like what we sometimes call intellectually challenged in modern day respectful terms. But they still helped them get a job that put them at some value in way of making their ends meet, that was working and not just being on disability when they may not make a lot of money, may not make professional money, or may not make blue collar, but they still could have some kind of input into society to work some kind of job.
Yeah, I would love to. That would be something I would love to create. Well, I can't do that myself, but that's needed. There's that. Yeah, I'm just gonna look into that and see what I find.
Well, if you liked the idea enough to try to create something like that for those with a different type of special needs, I could help you with the business process of that as far as being a business consultant and planning how to happen. Or you could even, in the people that you work with and that you try to help get to work or do whatever and train, you could throw the idea on somebody who has that specific special needs and the talent for entrepreneurship and say, how about this idea? It may not have originally been your idea, but it would be an idea to throw on somebody that you see the potential of being able to make it happen. And
Yeah,
that could be with any condition, really. It's not limited to just autism.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
But I could teach you, like if we met separately, I could teach you the process or walk you through the process or be a partner to help these people that you help go through the process of opening a business that is catered to their special needs, maybe even serves that market instead of just simply being accommodated to they themselves in a totally different industry. But the thing is, we need to put these ideas together for the good of society and all of us to not be on disability, but to put our talent to some use instead of seeing it as a disadvantage. First step is identifying it as a gift.
I agree.
All right, I want to check in with Marianne Waikiki with Charity Revolution and with H&P Ability. Marianne, are you still out there? How are things going? Aloha.
Aloha, Kurt. Woke up a little late. Aloha, everybody, because you know what? I went to India this morning at 3:30 Hawaii time.
Aloha to that.
Yeah,
So
it was a little early for me.
Yeah, so, but I need to share with you, we're having some technical difficulties with the closed caption. Closed caption works when the speakers and the co-hosts are speaking, but when we go in the break rooms, closed caption is not happening. So we need to look into that. That happened in India for me. And translating from India, their different languages into English also too. So anyway,
That's
it's a
what-
great morning. So
Yeah,
it's
I
a
believe that's with all Zoom meetings, not just the ones we've been in. I think
All
it's
right, well,
any
I
Zoom meeting.
we need to have it looked at. And a couple things too, we had our meeting yesterday for HNP on the 20th, I believe, is the American Sign Language that I'll be interpreting for the International Sign Language Day. And we had meetings on Labor Day, so thank you everybody for your labor of love. And we're moving forward to it. So Thursdays, I'm co-hosting with our captain, Denise Farias. I'll be the sign language ASL interpreter. And that is at 9 o'clock Hawaii time, noon Pacific time, and 3 o'clock Eastern time. So anybody can join us. And of course, as usual, I'm out promoting our group. And I talked to Denise afterwards and gave her several different links about deaf culture, the history of sign language, and just a few other things too that we can create an amazing slideshow presentation. So I'm really excited to work with this group and attract as many H&P people because it's such a happy group, and I am so happy. And I'm also excited that Trevor Gibbs out of Orlando has a company called Charity Revolution that reviewed my website. I did not pass with my homemade GoDaddy website for my own business. We were people are talking about persons with disabilities creating their own home-based business with persons with abilities. So he audited my website. Did not pass. I got graded just like a homework paper. That's how the audit is. It's about 5 pages long of what I got to do to be compliant in 2022. So write this down. Is for yours to do in 2022 is to be ADA compliance. So I'm real excited to do that with him and shifting the happiness over from being a co-host to ability, and shifting the happiness over to getting my website done. Let me just pull this up here. So there's a little very colorful here. So there we go. Website in review for ADA compliance in 2022. So if you know somebody that has a website, please contact Trevor. Trevor will audit it. And that's what we put on as a like a under construction type of blog. So people know that we will be ADA compliant in 2022. So Jennifer and Ryan, amazing stories. So a little history about me, if you haven't met me or heard of me or heard this and that, but I used to be a case manager with mentally ill deaf adults. Way back when, 31 years ago, President Bush signed the American Disabilities Act. So I worked for an agency called Transitions Community Support Programs. So not only I had a caseload with another social worker and a sign language interpreter, we had about 30 deaf adults, and we helped them with housing and place them into employment. And a lot of the places were Goodwill Industries, doing piecework and our machinery operations to do piecework, the post office, and cleaning agencies. So it was a great experience to do that, and making sure that they had a sign language interpreter there for their quarterly reviews or performance reviews, all that, going to the Department of Social Services, having their disability income evaluated with their income ability so that they were in compliance and not exceeding or overseeding, so that they could still receive their food stamps, their SSI, as well as their income to go out and play, because they deserve it, right? We all deserve to go out and play. So through my journey, I did sales and medical sales, and I was sitting in a hotel lobby, trying to come to Hawaii, and a manager drove her SUV through the wall behind me. So I suffered from knockback, broken ankle, and a hearing loss, and got evaluated. And so my disability, so to speak, is vertigo. I suffer from vertigo. It comes and goes. Tinnitus for 8 years. And so when I came to Hawaii, I started going to Unity Church of Hawaii, and through meditation, I was asking what my next purpose was. And you were going to write a series of books with sign language of puppets, and I laughed. and I learned how to meditate and make vision boards. And I pointed over to the marina over there. I go, I want to live over there. And well, the universe opened up, and I got to live on a 45-foot sailboat and be a caretaker for the owner, who went back to California. And I met my Navy man, and he not only that took me around to the islands while he worked in cleaning up explosives, but took me with me and my broken foot and my hearing loss. And I recovered from that. But he took me sailing on a sailing book signing tour, and made sure I had equipment so that I could hear. And a lot of sailors have it too, but a headset, so that he worked with me, knowing that I was able to hear everything while we were sailing, especially, the instructions and commands when you're only two of you, out night sailing and all that. So it's amazing things that people just need to be educated, and you'll be surprised. And also you're going to have a loving relationship too, with a person with a disability as well. And there is 450 million hard of hearing deaf people worldwide. We have millions of moms and dads coming home from being of service now who can't hear their own children or grandchildren. And tinnitus is a big disability that's being accepted through the Veterans Association, et cetera. So if you know someone who is suffering from this, also they can receive SSDI benefits also. So through my journey, again, I was going to write a series of books with sign language and puppets, and I laughed, and I ended up signing for Scott, my deaf friend, for over 10 years when we took him out sailing. And I had a chiropractor sail instructor. So a lot of people didn't know I was experiencing some of this stuff, but that also realigned me. And also I'm grateful that I met Dr. Joe, who actually just focuses on upper cervical. So for about 2.5 months now, I've been vertigo free with his soft touch and everything. So I'm kind of getting a little nervous. I just leaning back every now and then. I go, no, it's not coming back. He's doing great. If not, I go, I know what I need to do. And this is amazing. And what amazing feeling to have, just having that sense of security that, it's not going to come back. I'm not going to be bothered by picking up my purse and feeling that.
I understand this, Marianne.
Yeah. So
I had brain surgery. I had brain surgery in December. And so I went through that same process in the first 6 months of where I'd get what they call auras, which is the feeling you get right before having an epileptic seizure. And I had to get used to the fact that doesn't mean I'm having a seizure, and that don't react in a certain way I would to get myself in a safe place or whatever, and accept the fact that it's just a simple sensation and nothing more than that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if I could be a leader and inspiration to you, it does take a lot of adjustment, but it will be pretty on the other side, prettier than it was, and prettier than the middle when you're trying to adjust, but it's not going to come.
Definitely. Well, I know, and again, we can be spokespersons about this because not only that I'm a hearing loss expert, and I have a degree in audiology, but Kurt has groups that brings us into the veterans and talking about hearing loss and vertigo and tinnitus and all that stuff, and what works and what doesn't work, and remedies, essential oils, holistic diet, all these changes in your life can prevent a lot of these side effects, symptoms, whatever you want to call them.
And I don't think people give enough credit to forget the word you use, but using natural supplements in place of medication. But I know that younger generations of doctors, like my psychiatrist who I see for my PTSD and other conditions, she is in her 30s. She's somewhere in my generation, about not necessarily my age. She actually will advise me, I don't want to put you on medication yet. I want you to first try. And then like when I was having insomnia, first try melatonin, first try. And then when I was having depression, what was it? Magnesium, and try B12, vitamin B12. Like, our new generation of doctors are being taught to advise us of that stuff, so we don't have to see somebody who actually specialized in natural supplement training. But when you go, the problem is with our older generations of doctors, they're very hardcore trained to not recommend it all and to be anti-natural stuff and be all pharmaceutical industry stuff. So I think we're evolving towards what you're talking about, but the problem is we're not quite there.
Right. Well, when the world knows that there's 450 million hard of hearing deaf people and millions of moms and dads coming back,
Right.
especially with me talking about it every single HNP Zoom, then people become aware of it. And that's also too, the speaking part also too, which is also a job. Okay. Speakers can be paid on the side. So persons with disabilities can be a paid speaker. And so through, again, this journey, living on my sailboat, having those vertigo days, I don't want to do this or that, or, but I trained my mind. And so this garbage was coming around my boat, and I was walking down the mall and I saw Tree of Folk Manus puppets, and I called the company and I said, I was guided, I was going to write some books with your puppets. Can I use them? They're like, yeah, just let us know when you do that. Well, at Unity Church of Hawaii, I started signing for a deaf man, Scott, who was very high functioning, spiritual. We became Reiki masters, energy healers, angel intuitives, sailors. I signed for Terry Fader and Chelsea Handler over here for him. And what a great journey. And so we want to leave this legacy with these sign language characters in the animation movies. So the Acts of Kindness series is being federally trademarked now through Dr. Liddy that I met on HNP out of Orlando. So if you have ideas or your products that need to be trademarked, please talk to Dr. Liddy about that. So she is doing that. It's going to take about 3 to 6 months. Now, technically, I'm not supposed to be talking about my work, but I am sharing that with you because it's a visual here that I need to share with you and showing that from thought to action, look what I produced. Okay. Not only having the real experience of working with the deaf, now I'm experiencing my own hearing challenges that I'm overcoming. Okay. And to make me a better person and a better spokeswoman. And I'm leaving a legacy about ocean cleanup as well as bullying messages. So I see myself as the next J.K. Rowling, Dora the Explorer, and retail like Hello Kitty. And that's how I kind of explain.
Amen. Speak that into being.
Yeah, so no one has done anything with sign language characters. So we have a soundtrack by Lucy Lynch in The Perfect Wave. And not only that, frequencies can raise your vibration. And my deaf friend Scott was always about, we got to raise your vibration. You got to vibrate high, vibration. I kind of get, but I got it. And as many times that I heard it and over, it's stuck. So I listened to solfeggio frequencies. So Lucy's musicians, Blake's bass music actually heals broken bones. And Lucy's angelic voice, she does crystal bowls, so crystal bowls can elevate it. And I also would go hang in these banyan trees with Awahoshi, who did crystal bowls, to help some of my hearing come back, alleviate some of the strain, the stress, because it was all misplaced energy from my accident. And, sailing and just day-to-day activities. It's all up here, okay? So a lot of that alleviated a lot of stuff. And again, I can be hired as a AARP spokeswoman now. And so I'm just sharing that those are opportunities for people with disabilities to do that. And so I know we didn't have the triathlon or the Ironman triathlon, but there was a gentleman that was Down syndromes that was competing, who was supposed to be over here. So that didn't happen. So again, these people can corporate sponsor persons with disabilities. So Brian, if you find any corporations or anything like that, please help me. I mean, I know Starkey Hearing Nanite Labs, I want them to partner with me. There's other corporations too. Again, that could corporately sponsor a person with a disability. And I hope they use my products into a cereal box. I've done all the logos and everything like that. Like I said, I see it on everything, diapers. So I have all that. I can't share all that beautiful work that I've done. And I've done it with fiber. So the good news is that I sailed around to meet with the schools, and then COVID hit. I had to come back home. And grateful that I am here and safe and alive and got the vaccine. And encouraging everybody to get vaccinated. This is keeping you out of the emergency room. This is saving your lives. And we are seeing a high rise over here in Hawaii. The governor wanted to lock down for the weekend and is asking tourists not to come to Hawaii. And our hotels are shutting down too now. So again, this COVID, we are uncertain what it can do with damage with hearing loss for an individual, with mothers pregnant with a fever, because way back when rubella and scarlet fever, or would have a mother who was normal with hearing would have a child with a hearing loss. And then they would go back in the history, or working with the deaf way back when, 31 years ago, they would say, well, my mom had a high fever, she was hearing, and I became deaf. So we need to be aware of what could possibly happen in our future with this COVID virus. And as a so I don't want to get into this, but so what I'm getting at is now I'm self-employed, and I got the PUA, and I was on set of the movies over here as an extra. I was on Hawaii Five-0, Magnum PI. Actually, I volunteered with Sandy Alessi to sign one day for people that were deaf or disabilities to be an extra. And there was deaf parents of a hearing daughter that wanted to be on set. So I got to do a lot of amazing different types of things over here and keep busy at my own space and time. Because if on the vertigo would come, I would be laying down on my boat. And then, okay, I got to get chiropractic treatment and relax the body, etc. So again, I'm grateful for Dr. Joe, that upper cervical, that's what the focus was. So not this hardcore higher chiropractic treatment. So getting into, so I see these books in the animation movies, and my first book was Underwater Acts of Kindness, and it's written for Animal Planet TV show Tank Guys, where they build aquariums in Las Vegas. So what was happening, all this garbage was floating around my boat. I go to Unity Church of Hawaii to interpret. It was talked about aha moments. So the whole book was kind of created around it. So this was all channeled and guided to me with a soundtrack by Lucy Lynch and The Perfect Wave. The second book, Rabbit Acts of Kindness, is done. And I'm so excited that it is edited and we are finally done after this one dragged out for a couple of years. But I'm getting it done. And I use that PUA money to create app games for each chapter as online courses now. So I'm thinking outside of the dock box is what I say, not living on the boat, but opening up those channel doors to be creative, to make app games that will give me, that is my 401k now. So that money that I invested, I'm getting that, let's say the grant or the PUA, that was my money that I worked for. And now that we're shut down, we were given that money. I used around $7,000 to create the app games. I used $5,000 of that money to pay Dr. Liddy to federally trademark me now. So it is expensive, but it is possible. And we are trying to fundraise an Indiegogo campaign that I raised actually zero, but I'm not going to give up. Trevor and I are looking into the Kickstarter side. We also talked with Wingate Studios, Lawrence Wingate, who has studios like Tyler Perry in North Carolina, that gave me a link to fundraise. So I'm still going to be putting that out there. And now that I want to say I'm done with my projects, it feels good. I got wings. I'm like, go to the beach, or, don't start something new, but you know what? I want to complete it. So my horoscope said I was going to bring it up. So Maria, I'm touching out to you now. So I need help to find a person who wants to do the screenplay writing for me for free. And on this morning in India, I put it out there and said, I hire people from India on Fiverr and they do an amazing job. And I'm asking the universe to help me find the screenplay writer and the animators to do this for free for me, or somehow work something out with me so that I can continue my projects. So it's an awesome feeling. And then we're going to be able to share this worldwide. So I'll be at my next steps, but I'm supposed to be limited at speaking of this, but I cannot stop from sharing this. So Priya, we'll talk about what we need to do to start looking for a screenplay writer and animation to be funded, and so that I can work on this during the winter, since we're not sailing and staying at home, and will be whale watching season. So great to meet everybody. And Maria, wanted to tell you too, I got my ancestry heritage on living DNA results back. So I knew this anyway, German, Norwegian, and Polish. So I have some legacy over there. I'm not sure if it's royalty yet, so I'll let you know.
Hi, I'm Marianne. I think you and Jennifer just should reach out. Jennifer is actually an author as well, and Jennifer actually does a lot of writing as well. So you and Jennifer have a connection as well, and talk. I think Jennifer would be really good in the project, and bring her on board and talk about your project, because I think she would be an amazing asset as well. So I would advise you to bring Jennifer on.
Are you
Yeah.
talking about me, Miss Maria?
Yeah, you and
I
Marianne.
appreciate that. I
You
definitely
Maria-
would. I definitely appreciate your support, and definitely Miss Anna Maria or Miss Marianne. I would. I can't even get your name right. But anyways, definitely, I'd love to be a part of your project, as Miss Maria is saying.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of talents to bring to the table between being an author. I was, as you said, I could do acting because I was a model from age 14 to 18. So a lot of those things, since I even write books, and I right now have one friend who plays a musical instrument. He's actually asked me to turn my poems that I write into songs, and he's going to put on the radio via him playing and doing the singing. So I've got a lot of other adventures that start as small as me being a writer, business consultant, educator, tutoring specifically, and an entrepreneur at heart with a bookstore, as well as that other company called Ace My Course, tutoring, writing, and consulting. While
I
I'm
think,
Hey,
yeah,
make sure you are federally trademarked with everything. And again, I'm not supposed to be talking about my work, even though this book has been out there for several years. But it's the fact it's all your work, trademarking, anybody can take it. And I just wanted to, one other thing too. So the Fiverr guys, to make my app games for each of the chapter of the book to learn fingerspelling and sign language was about $300 per game. So with your creativity and Ryan too, it's just easy to become a app game developer. And there was some fees, I think around $100, maybe $200 that I had to pay, but now I'm an Apple game developer. So Marianne Ambrose now is a author, speaker, and an Apple game developer. So I like that and moving forward. So those are just some things too that you can creatively design your title of your own business and keep it, within the ADA guidelines, as well as your SSI and everything like that. But so that's where I see as my 401k, my future is these app games, and to bring them worldwide.
definitely.
I absolutely definitely see Marianne and Jennifer being really well suited to each other, especially with Jennifer having a writing background and a poetry into songwriting. I definitely can see that synergy there. And I think Ryan is also going to be a good asset, a good fit, as well as what he can bring to the table as to be a stakeholder for H&P Ability, to grow H&P Ability, to grow and make it, because we have what we call stakeholder meetings. So we have meetings done every Monday to discuss how we can make it much easier for people with abilities to be empowered, to empower them, to help them achieve their full potential. So I would love you to be on board on that. That's on a Monday night. Emily can talk about that as well. And what we do, we are looking at the masterclass, but then we're also looking at the December, the United Nations International Day of Disability. For us, this is the movement. Yeah, we do have H&P on the Thursday night, which is a networking event, but this is more than just a networking event. Is to, like we're saying, like all of us can be motivational speakers to speak about what we do, why we've chosen what we've chosen for the path. Like, not everyone is like us, Jennifer, Marianne, and Ryan. Not everyone is like Emily, that is willing to come to the forefront to champion the abilities, to champion people. Because some people I was really shy. If at 10, I couldn't talk. If you see me at 10 and see me right now, I've got long COVID right now. So I'm finding it extremely hard and very challenging. I use ABC, which is multiple and minerals, because I'm still going to take a long time to recover. And it's been mentally challenging. And having PTSD, and I have a psychiatrist as well, and I'm doing emotional support and a mental health first aid trainer. Having long COVID is being so challenging, really tough. And when you fall on the spectrum, or if you've got a disability, and a lot of people in the UK have lost their hearing, and my hearing's not great, but with long COVID, it really affects our hearing. And if you've got long COVID, and like say you're a sign language expert, and you've got brain fog, you're going to be struggling. And I know people like yourself, Jennifer, who've had who've had like a brain operation. It takes time to recover. People don't
Yes.
know how hard it is to recover. It's not easy, and it's massively scary, and it's a massive operation, and to be massively scary. And I believe in alternative medicine first before taking medicine. I prefer alternative, and I think it's
Maria,
important.
Can you let me know, or can you type in the chat of all that you said about when the things are? You said Monday night, Thursday night.
Yeah,
Can you write all that in the chat?
Emily can place that in the chat. We can do the Thursday night. Emily, can you paste the Thursday night H&P ability? Because I'm on my iPad.
Yes, I can put it in the chat in a minute here.
Thank you so much.
We're just going to kind of wrap up here for the
No
recording. So we can keep the live stream going a little bit longer. But thank you to everybody who tuned into this podcast. Please join us next week if you can, along with tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday at our other podcasts. For more information, you can go to worldofability.com/shows. And over to you, Kurt.
All right, thank you. I am Kurt Roskoff. Please be co-hosting these podcasts every week. And as Emily said, we're on the platform 4 days a week, so plenty of time to capture all of our messages. And if you want to participate in any of these podcasts, contact Emily and or myself. And for contacting me, you can email me, kurt@thedisabilitychannel.us, and feel free to call and or text me at 262-372-1SKI. That's 262-372-1754. And we want to give a big thank you out there to everybody that is commenting, reacting, and sharing everything that we're doing through all of these podcasts. It tremendously helps. And here at Compassionate Citizens, it helps spread compassion around the world. So until next time, we're going to end the syndicated recording for Transform You Media Network, and we're going to keep the live streaming going on YouTube and Facebook. So Emily, go ahead and push that. There we go. So we're here on live streaming. Jennifer, did you want to go ahead and leave any contact information anyway for your work product or takeaways for our guests, that if they kind of want to keep going with our conversation, that they can do so on their own and maybe reach back to you?
Exactly. So I don't know if it shows on your chat, and your chat shows on the recordings, but I have put my name, website, my phone number for calls or texting, my email, where they can follow me on Facebook as well as Twitter and YouTube. So if the chat is visible, then they can look under my name, Jennifer A. Whitaker, and see that I have provided all that information. And anybody who's interested in any of our programs, writing, tutoring, consulting, or any of my books, such as How to Know God is Real series, which is a Christian book, or Dealing with Autism that I wrote, which is nonfiction based on how to overcome autism. Or they can even follow us for ones I have coming out soon to be on audiobook, as well as a soon to be released called Secret to Success, The Evolution of Public Education in the Workforce. And that's what I was able to write via my profession in tutoring for 20 something years. And my profession in writing somewhere in the roundabout of 19 years or 20 years. So I thank everybody who's listening, and for any value they have in my opinion and my expertise and anything they do to somehow connect or get to know me. Thank you, Kurt, for having me.
You're welcome, Jennifer, and everybody. Again, that is Jennifer A. Whitaker, WHITAKER, www.acemycourse.co. That's CO. www.books@morebyjenniferawhitaker.com. Text and or call 346-800-1912. jen.acemycourse@gmail.com. Facebook at Ace My Course Tutoring. At Books by Jennifer A. Whitaker. TW. I'm blank. Twitter, of course. Tweet at Ace My Course. YouTube search Ace My Course Tutoring, Writing and Consulting, or Books and More by Jennifer A. Whitaker, and subscribe. So what a resource. Thank you, Jennifer. Ryan, how about you? What is your takeaway and things you want to leave for our audience? And anyone who could reach back to you?
Thank you for having me, Kurt. It was amazing. I met amazing 3 people, and I'm sure I'll be meeting more people as I can do more, just great, connect with the disability community. I love talking about my story. You guys can follow me at the information below with my email, my Facebook, text me or call me at the number. I would love to help as many people as I can. Hoping to be an inspiration to the world, and helping the disability community in education in whatever way I can. So just thanks for having me, and look forward to doing many more work with everybody. So to make the world a better place.
There we go, Ryan. Thanks for doing so. And again, everybody, that's Ryan Lundy, RHLUNDY85 @gmail.com. Cell phone, he's leaving his cell phone, 610-864-9717. And you can find him, Ryan Lundy, LUNDY, on Facebook. So, Marianne, did we get everything in on Trevor Gibbs and Charity Revolution? Any takeaways? Anything else as your final thought?
I just want to make sure that everybody needs to be ADA compliant in 2022. And I'll be speaking more about my products and services and app games with Dr. Liddy next year as well. So we're just below deck right now, working on all our trademarking. And Trevor's a great guy. So join us on HNP Abilities on Thursdays. I'll be doing the American Sign Language interpreting. Well, breakaway I wanted to say with all these amazing creators, artists, is that if it comes to you, it's for yours to do, and share the happiness worldwide. So we're shifting the happiness. And aloha. I'm Marianne of Waikiki.
Aloha. Thanks again, Marianne. Thanks for doing sign language interpretation at the HNP Ability meetings for the Happy Neighborhood Project. I hope everybody out there is visiting HNPABC.com, which will take you right to happyneighborhoodproject.com. They're both the same page. And so we have Maria Zaney here, also a co-host with HNP Ability. So Maria, what are your final thoughts? Any contact information?
Takeaways,
references?
For me, it's important that we all on this podcast work together as a collaborative team. So that's why I advise of the stakeholder meeting that we have on the Monday night to talk about how we can increase HNP Abilities reach. So it's really, really important. That's not the stakeholder for HNP. It's just we call our ally stakeholders. So we have like a meeting on a Monday night that we discuss how we can get to more people and how we can spread the word of HNP, the Happy Neighborhood networking event. And that is to lead to different discussions and different topics to talk about after we network. Is to talk about how we can work on raising awareness on an International Day of Disability. You also have the masterclass coming up on the International Sign Language Day, International Day of Sign Language for the United Nations. it's really important that people understand the hidden disabilities and physical disabilities, but I like the word ability. I don't like the word disability. And there's more people that are on the spectrum out there that they do require information and knowledge and understanding what support is out there. And it's really important that we talk to business owners about their duty of care to those who, even their customers who have a disability, even their employees, but even to themselves as human beings. How can I be of service? How can I make it much easier for people who have various disabilities to make life easier for themselves, especially under COVID? As I said, I've got on COVID, and I believe the Disability Channel should work with Jennifer as well as Marianne, as well as everybody on here, and Emily is now also the HNP non-profit network is coming up soon. That is for people who are on the non-profit spectrum to work together globally, so we can massively improve the life of people who have various disability, homeless, army vets, about giving them a reason to be able to contribute and to be able to have pride in themselves and to be able to recognise that they are beautiful, whatever ability they have, they are loved. And if we can show that and make humanity out there such a better place and such a loving place, and that's what we should be doing, and focusing on not our differences, but focusing what makes us similar. Because the disabled community, we are the biggest community out there on the planet. And with long COVID and COVID, there's more people that are disabled that we know about. And there's more, we need to have resources out there to help those people that may not be aware of their self-worth and tell them you are worthy, you matter. And that's really important for every single human being to feel mattered and loved and to feel that they have power within themselves. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that's what I believe in. And just be kind, be gracious, be humble, be yourself. And that's what I'm about.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for being you. And I want to give a big thanks to our panelists here for going into extra innings. Wow, 90 minutes of live streaming. We're still going strong. This is great. And can't say enough for Emily Gulmer, acting as our executive assistant of Prosperity Pathways Onward and Upward, and doing everything she does by, with, and for me. So thank you, Emily, and well done on these podcasts. So Emily, I will turn it back to you. What's next, Emily?
Well, first, we can stop being on social media unless somebody wants to keep going.